I do love the idea of Thrawn having chicken Alfredo and then just having the worst diarrhea of his life.
Start your sublight engines. It's time for RuPalp's Podrace, a queer Star Wars podcast. Welcome back to another week of chaos. To get us started, I did want to say that we asked for a podcast bingo card and you guys delivered. Someone on Tumblr whose name is Ahsoka-Tano and the O in Ahsoka is a 0 did make a list of fun things that we do a lot. However, we also released a bingo card on our social media, so go there and check it out if you want to play along. It is there. We will post it before this episode comes out, so you can follow it along, but it does work for pretty much every episode. Let's get into it. My name is Ollie. You can find me on TikTok at OllieFresh, and on most social media. My pronouns are they, them. And my gender this week is Newt Gunray's Finsta.
What is that called?
So, like,
what's the URL?
So I feel like it must be like Newt Gunray, but it's like, I feel like it's just Newt Gunray.
He doesn't know what a Finsta is.
No, I think it's
He has
Newt.
a second Instagram account and he's like, this is good enough for me.
No, I feel very specifically that Newt Gunray does have a Finsta because because I imagine him posting like, don't hit me up, and then like a picture of Grievous. And he's like, I just hate this man so much. I love the idea of him blocking Grievous, being like, he was annoying me. I just feel like all of the Separatists are in on his Finsta except for Grievous.
Mel just dropped Kit Finsta into the chat. Mel!
That's my drag name.
I'm Jess. You can find me on most social media at Kawaii Jessio. My pronouns are they, them. I almost forgot my pronouns. And my gender this week is Thrawn has prepared a dance for you.
Thrawn has prepared a dance is literally all I care about.
Jess, can you explain what Thrawn has prepared a dance for you is? Because we do need the audience's help on this.
Can anyone truly describe what that is?
Well, backstory for this, the lore drop is the other night when we were all in the RuPalp's Podrace Discord voice chat again, we were going insane like always, which is just the normal daily occurrence. And we found a gif of a Thrawn cosplayer dancing, and we have not stopped thinking about it since. And so now we need everyone's help to find this Thrawn cosplayer, because we'd like to give him credit, but Klaudia went on like a deep dive to try and find this person and has not been able to find anything. So
I emailed this man. Like,
yeah,
I went through like archives of the 501st Legion. I went through old Facebook pages. Like, we need to find this man. I commented on the original YouTube video being like, sir, we have to know. Please help us find this man. Please, call me Ahsoka-Tano because I'm looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn, baby.
Klaudia has gone full true crime podcaster. This is no longer a fucking after show where we talk about the Bad Batch. This is Claudia's true crime podcast, Finding Grand Admiral Thrawn.
What is the Ahsoka show if not an overly dedicated true crime podcaster? I was gonna say, I do believe that the cosplayer got sent to the Chiss Ascendancy, and that's why we can't find them.
If the Ahsoka show does not have the serial music from the serial podcast, I don't want it, Dave. I don't want it. My name's Klaudia with a K. My pronouns are she, her. My username on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok is Klaudia says, K-A-L-U-D-I-A says. My gender of the week is Bib Fortuna's based cousin. This is not a joke. This is a real character that exists that we found on our travels on Wikipedia. One of Saw's partisans, his name is Beezer Fortuna, and he is Bib Fortuna's cousin. So he's a based king, and go look him up on Wikipedia. He looks very cursed.
He's beautiful.
No,
so I know his name is
Shut up,
Beezer.
Ollie.
I know his name is Beezer. However, I will only think if his name was Weezer and be like, he's in the band.
My name is Mel. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on TikTok at GrunkleRex. And my gender this week is R7's broken body in Victory and Death.
Oh no!
I cannot deal with that.
Leave that little trash
My
can man
baby.
alone.
My gender. How dare you? That's how I'm expressing myself.
I'm Noah. My pronouns are he, him. You can find me on TikTok at the Jewish Jedi. And my gender this week, because I just got such mom vibes from a certain character, is MILF Echo. That's what I'm feeling for this episode.
I was gonna save this for when we talk about the Bad Batch, but my current mood is Echo's the mom friend, Hunter's the dad friend, and Tech and Wrecker are the weird uncles.
That's super heckin' valid, Uwu.
I feel like we've said that in a previous episode.
Correct, but I'm doubling down.
Oh, okay.
I want to bring it to the table. Anyway, so before we go on, I do have to address something because this is a podcast with listeners, and I have said some things that have hurt some feelings, and I do want to bring some validity to those emotions and sort of talk about them. So the thing is that on this show, I've been very adamantly anti-Kit Fisto fucking, and I realized that that's very problematic of me because we live in a progressive era and this is very important to deal with at this time. So I did want to say that I have recently rescinded my prior opinions, and I am now outwardly and proudly pro Kit Fisto fucking. So I'm very sorry to our viewers that I may have hurt with that, but I wanted to formally apologize on our platform to be held accountable for that action.
I just wanted to say, honestly, you're so brave for doing that.
Thank you. It was really hard to come on here because as a Star Wars TikToker, I'm just so silenced in the media. So I came on my own podcast to talk about how silenced I am.
No, truly, Star Wars TikTokers are one of the most oppressed classes.
Yeah, with cancel culture, like, we don't have a lot of opportunities to.
Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride.
That's super heckin' valid. Woo.
What in the fucking Gina Carano is happening here? Fucking let's move on.
Noah's the Gina Carano if our podcast was the Mandalorian.
No.
That's my gender. My gender this week is Gina Carano.
Don't tell her about it. She hates gender. Did you guys like this episode of The Bad Batch?
This episode left me emotionally unwell, damaged, upset. Like, I literally, I watched it and I had to pause it at certain points because I could not deal with what was happening on screen, which does not happen to me when I watch television. So that was a super fun development that I loved that happened.
I was gripping my partner's leg so hard. They were like, "Can you stop?" And I was like, And there was a point where I was crying about one thing and then another thing happened and I started crying about that. And I was like, hey, can we slow down? This is episode 6. Hey,
why are we going so goddamn fast? I will say, there's a lot. How about we try to go through it sort of and talk about the goods and the bads? The Bad Batch is the only bad here. The first thing, we open on this scene in Sid's bar, and I do love, first of all, Echo training Omega with that bow. I've said I love Echo so much, but I also love that they were doing target practice in this restaurant, in this establishment, and they were like
facing the fucking door.
Truly, I'm like, hey, maybe they didn't cover public safety in ARC Trooper training, Echo, but this is not it.
I loved that scene so much because we've said before on this podcast that Echo is most definitely the mom of the Bad Batch, but there's such an epic mom moment of him literally being like, here's how to shoot someone, sweetie, go do what you need to do. That was really great. Also, epic Sid moment of her being like, yeah, you want to know how to shoot a bow? Here's how to shoot a bow. Go home.
This is what
I love her for that.
About Sid and about yes, is this a show about several men who adopt a child? Yes. But in every episode, they have introduced at least one capable woman, usually a lesbian, to be like, hey, kid, let me teach you the facts of life. It's every episode. This episode, it was Sid and then Trace and Rafa. And I love that element of her being like, here's me with my brothers. And then a woman coming in and being like, all right, let me teach you the facts of life. And I was just, I love it so much. And the fact that we will probably also get that with Fennec because she's shooting with a bow and the sniper and I can't.
Quick poll, is Sid a MILF? What are our thoughts?
She's a wine ant. Next question.
That's
she's
super
like
heckin' valid, Uwu. Okay, we can move on now.
Yeah, why not?
The vibe that Sid has. So here's my actually fun theory about Sid. So I said, I believe last week, how we were talking about how are some characters dealing with the fall of the Republic and the beginning of the Empire. And Sid is one of those characters who's at an intersection where we're not really sure what she's going to do, because she was saying like, oh, I worked with the Jedi and now the Jedi are gone. Who's she working for? I have an idea. How do we feel about Crimson Dawn? Because one of my TikTok followers, a friend of the pod, Order 66 Fries, did point out on a TikTok that I made saying that Dryden Vos was modeled, and there is a model for Dryden Vos that was in season 7 of Clone Wars in the background where he's talking to Maul. And I didn't notice that. And I saw that, and he's like in a hologram. And I'm like, that's exactly the same thing they did with Caleb and Depa, and they brought them over. And I know it's like, you can't compare it. It's not apples to apples, but I do kind of think it would make sense I'm thinking it would make sense if Sid, now with this emptiness, and again, we don't really know who she's getting her jobs from. It could be she's working for Crimson Dawn and Dryden Vos. WandaVision 2, Paul Bettany moment. Let's see.
I just want to say about Crimson Dawn, maybe this isn't just like, oh, she's working with Crimson Dawn. Maybe this is how Crimson Dawn comes to power and Maul like builds his empire, is where he's like, well, everything's in chaos and there's a lot of people looking for opportunities, and there's people like Sid who used to work with the whatever are the people that he like that was his strength. He's a good businessman. Epic Maul, Klaudia talks about Maul moment. That's
epic capitalist Maul moment.
No, okay. Not fucking Maul being like, hey girly, do you want to be your own boss? Maul MLM.
ML Maul? Maul LM? How do you feel about Maul LM? Multi-level Maul scheme?
Anyway,
I feel
the Temple and Rebels is a pyramid scheme. That's where he was going.
I apologize for the person that I am going to become now that you have brought that idea into my head. Wait, Girl boss Maul? Are you kidding me?
Wait, he does have the energy of one of those people who ran an MLM, and then like it got found out and investigated as a pyramid scheme, and then it collapsed, and so then he created another one that's like super shady.
Savage and Death Watch were the first MLM that got found out and destroyed.
all the other like his recruitment of all the other crime lords was literally him being like, hey bestie, do you want to run your own business?
Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that is Maul's whole thing, and then fucking bringing Ezra in, and Ezra being like, oh, like, oh, this is interesting. Kanan, should we join this? And Kanan being like, fuck no. It's a goddamn MLM. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. And also, what I was just gonna say, vis-a-vis Dryden Vos, that piece of shit, I hate him deeply. Sorry. I did just look up, because I know some people at the end of the episode when Rafa is having her moment where she's like, hey bestie, saw some rogue clones. Some people are like, oh my god, could that be Dryden Vos? I'm just saying, based on his character model from the Clone Wars, his fit does not quite match the person that we see. Not to say that Dryden Vos only has one outfit, but
I do like that idea of Dryden Vos having one outfit.
Fennec only has one outfit. Fennec is wearing the same outfit in Book of Boba Fett. Or no, in The Mandalorian, I'm sorry.
She's probably going to be wearing the same outfit in Book of Boba Fett, though. I have went through the full range of emotions of like, oh, is it someone, could it be someone, a villain, and they just don't know? Could it be Bail Organa? Could it be Ahsoka? I have landed on, I do believe it is Rex. Because, first of all, for those of you who don't know, Trace and Rafa, the droid that they had on their ship, was R7, who is Ahsoka's droid, who is seen in the background of Victory and Death, as Mel's gender this week would signify. So what I would think happened is that Ahsoka and Rex split up. Ahsoka said, hey, here's some people who I know, go find them. I'm going to go do the Ahsoka novel. You go do your own thing. Here's R7. He goes, finds Trace and Rafa, leaves R7 with them while he does his own little Rex thing. And I think that then also denotes, I literally just before we started recording watched the scene with that encounter, and the way that Rafa says, first of all, she says patch him in, so it's someone who uses he him pronouns. The other thing is the way that she turned and was like, I thought you might want to know, like, about that we found some clones and I know where to find them. The way that she says, like, I thought you might want to know, is very much like, it sounds like she's saying that to someone who would have an actual interest in it, and not just like, oh, these people might be useful to you. It's like, hey, this is specifically fits your interest, which very much fits Rex. So
I concur with the idea that it's Rex, not only because I cannot keep putting on my fucking clown nose every episode and saying Rex is going to be here, but also because I've seen some people be like, oh, it's the Empire. And I'm like, we know it's not, because they directly are like, they're going to make the galaxy better. So clearly it's someone that they seem to think is a good person. And yeah, I agree with pretty much all of your points, Ollie, because like we talked a little bit earlier before the pod about this fact that like Rex has a really vested interest right now in seeing other rogue clones, because I'm pretty sure at like this point in the timeline, he'd be like, I'm the only one that made it out of this, because I don't know how else he would have already figured that out. So I would say that he's
like, well, Cut is probably
also,
no, I'm saying like, I think that's like the only, he probably thinks like Cut and I are the only two, which also I apologize for dominating this conversation.
You're good.
But the thing that a lot of people are saying, like, oh, that's a Bail Organa fit because you can see the corner of a poncho. And I'm saying that's a Cut LaQuaine fit that he gave to Rex, because Rex went there first. And the idea of Rex in a Cut LaQuaine provided poncho is doing things to my brain.
I would like to say that I believe Cut LaQuaine literally has like a single closet, and you open it and it's just 16 of the exact same poncho. And Sue's like, I love that for you, honey.
I love this. It probably is Rex. I wasn't listening when I watched the episode, and I thought it was Ahsoka, because I was like, white cloak, Ahsoka. And I was also like, gay alarm. Trace and Rafa kept in contact with Ahsoka. I was like, gay alarm. But also love the idea that they came in contact with Ahsoka and then they were like, I am now radicalized. Love that. I'm so emotional. Epic space Latinos all are in the rebellion moment. But that is also why it's probably Rex. But the idea that Mel and I were talking about it being Bail Organa sends me into the stratosphere, because, and this is not, I just feel this in my bones, because the only people politically who cared about the clones were basically Padme and Bail and Mon Mothma, probably. So if like right now we just saw like, okay, what politically in the galaxy is happening to the droids? Is that was what's happening in this episode? For the next thing to be like, oh, what politically is going on actually with the clones, other than like, oh, they're now training the stormtroopers. You know, if Bail Organa were to find out like, oh, the Empire is now using them in a specific way, and he would have a very, as he's creating the rebellion, as we know from our deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith, he would have a very big vested interest in what if there were clones who were either de-chipped or didn't or whatever. He would want to know that sort of thing. There's a lot of that. And then the thought of new father Bail Organa and new father Hunter is, I can't. It sends me into the stratosphere. It's not going to happen, but please God, please, Bail Organa in the Bad Batch. Okay, anyway, I just want it to be Bail Organa so badly. Thank you very much.
I like the theory about Rex, and it holds a lot of water in my like books after hearing Ollie explain it. But I also don't think it's Rex and think it's Bail, just because Rafa seemed very clone racist, and I don't know how well she'd be working with Rex.
Oh.
To be fair, Bo-Katan also is pretty clone racist, and she's like, you know, begrudgingly working with the clones. And that is also all to say that I also think that because we've already seen that the Bad Batch has retconned some other, what we would call like minor pieces of canon, we may hold them near and dear to our hearts. But I think the film and the television tend to take precedence over like, books and comics. That the idea of Bail establishing a network of Fulcrum type spies, not necessarily maybe having the name Fulcrum, because that doesn't happen until the Ahsoka book, which takes place in 18 BBY. I think that would be very interesting, in having like Rex there as like an interloper, and specifically focusing in on like figuring out the clone situation. Here, sorry, let me quickly look at my note that I have here. I have a long ass note. Yeah, also Martez sisters as Fulcrum is very powerful to me. And just like having to get the fucking tactical droid to figure out how to defeat the clones, that just is ringing a lot of bells in my mind.
See,
I would also say the other thing about Rex, because I think it was Klaudia that mentioned this idea, of the idea of like Ahsoka being like, I know and trust this guy, go hang out with him. They might lower their clone racism meter in order to, because if Ahsoka's like, you trust me and I really trust this guy and he's important to the rebellion, I'm a little busy right now being gay and doing crime, so I feel like you should go hang out with him. They might like view him differently. But also, like Mel was saying, like, unfortunately, the reality about Star Wars being across so many different pieces of media is that like things just get left behind along the way. So that might just be why that change is happening. Because I love the idea of Bail there, but I think more realistically it'd be Rex. Also, just because personally, can we hurry up and get some Rex? Like, it's time. Give me my blonde boy.
crack idea. It's Cody.
The way I was literally waiting to say that until we finished this conversation so I could get a Cody mention in.
I can't with y'all. But I was also going to say, sorry, I did finish reading the end of my fucking note. I have like a fucking 8-paragraph thing of like, here are my feelings about this one small concept.
Epic video essay moments.
Honestly, Mel's video blog win. But the whole idea of like them getting that tactical droid to figure out how to defeat clones, and Rex working specifically with Bail to like figuring out what the fuck is up with the clones and all that kind of stuff. Also, to me, I think maybe because in Rebels we see that Bail and Rex have some level of like repertoire to begin with. I do think that there's a good chance that like something happens with the Bad Batch and Rex is like, actually fuck this. I cannot mentally handle this, besties. I'm gonna go fuck off with Wolf and Gregor.
I actually have this was something I was going to mention when we talk about Wrecker head trauma, because oh boy, did Wrecker do some stuff this episode. Something that my working theory right now is that Tech is going to get his little fruity chip detector working. He's going to use it, scan Wrecker, and be like, oh, Wrecker's got a problem. And Rex is going to be there and be like, oh, I had that same problem. We got mine removed. Let's do it to Wrecker. They do it to Wrecker. And then Rex is like, oh, you can figure out what's going on with people, huh? And Rex is like, well, how about we go find my friends? I have intel on where Wolf is, and I have an idea of what, like, oh, there's this other guy. So they use Tech's device to save Wolf and Gregor. And they're also like, oh, well, while we're at it, let's save Cody. And that one doesn't work.
Hey, bestie, what the fuck? A part you were saying like, oh, it's like something would happen there that would cause that trauma. That kind of went with like I was kind of in that same vein. I was like, what I can't figure out is like the timeline of this with the Ahsoka novel as well. And what I was thinking about, like what I've always wanted to see in the Bad Batch and then in the Andor series, if Ahsoka ever shows up, I want it to be like, all right, if we're seeing the foundations of the Fulcrum program and her becoming a Fulcrum, obviously, does that tie in with, do we see Mon Mothma? Do we see Bail Organa? Are Trace and Rafa a part of or becoming a rebel cell that reports into Ahsoka as a Fulcrum? Maybe not right now because she's like being gay and doing crime, but eventually she does. But then I thought about how like, okay, Wrecker had his little moment, and much like with Crosshair, there's going to be something that reactivates it again. And I was like, oh, that's going to be being near a Jedi. And this is a Dave Filoni joint, guys. In the first episode, he went balls to the wall, and in the first episode put Caleb Doom. And it's gonna be they beat Ahsoka and then Wrecker goes AWOL and then Rex is like, hey besties, I can't do this. Or Ahsoka's like, hey besties, I'm purposely going to avoid clones because of the like that whole guilt thing she has of the whole like they might be willing to die, but I'm not going to be the one who kills them. Like
Epic survivor's guilt.
Yeah, she's going to be like, I'm going to actively avoid them because I don't know if it will trigger this in them, even in the ones where it's not working. I'm picturing a moment of like Wrecker trying to kill her, and then and that being a reason why then she like goes into then she avoids everybody else, because obviously she doesn't see Rex for a very long, like, why she wouldn't go visit even. Like, I know she's busy with the rebellion, but like, you know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of stuff there. And that was my first thought. And now I make myself very sad, but also the thought of like Ahsoka, because also
to be fair, like talking about Ahsoka and Rex, Ahsoka did try to contact Rex and his messages got blocked by one of his special friends. So.
Yes. But also
yeah, as Mel has just posted in the chat. Yes. Also, it's fucking bitch ass Wolf's fault.
Fuck Wolf. The other piece of this is this is a Dave Filoni joint, but the Clone Wars, the story was not about, yes, it was Anakin and the Jedi, whatever, but the story, Ahsoka's the main character. Ahsoka and the clones are the main characters of the Clone Wars. If that could and them being the main characters here would continue to make sense. I mean, they put her in the Mandalorian, which they didn't need to. I just think it would make a lot of sense.
Okay, so I have several thoughts, like too many of them. One, the easiest trauma that I can think that gets Rex being like, never mind, fuck this, that he has to murder Cody, which is sad, but makes sense in timeline and canon. Two, the thing about Wrecker head trauma to me and the thing about like seeing a Jedi is, so far, this doesn't seem like a very Jedi-centric show. And in the same vein that The Mandalorian, like the thing about The Mandalorian was that it was Jedi-centric because we need to get Gogurt to the Jedi. But there aren't a lot of Jedi in this plot. There aren't a lot of like people that need to be involved with that. So I don't totally, like I love Ahsoka, but the likelihood of her showing up in this property for those reasons doesn't make a ton of sense to me, because like, why? She might be there for Rex, but even Rex is a side character in the Bad Batch's story. Like, that's not even involved. The other thing about epic Wrecker head trauma, I hated everything about that. I physically was like horribly, horribly angry and upset because I knew it was coming, but having to see it and having to hear him say, good soldiers follow orders, was so upsetting. I will get on my high horse about it in a second, because to bounce off of Ollie, I actually see that as a possible vehicle to get them back to Kamino, because we know that Tech's device can detect the chips. I highly doubt it can deactivate them. So my thinking is that,
Heist?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, and I say that in two veins. One is that Wrecker does end up like going back to the Empire, but the other is that they're like, well, shit, we have to go back. Because remember, even if Rex is like, oh, I got mine taken out, they need a specific machine to accomplish that. So either we're going to go back to Kamino, or we're going to go somewhere Imperial that would possess the technology to remove that.
Even though I love Ahsoka, I don't think it would be about her. Because, yeah, this is about the Bad Batch, and this is not the Ahsoka show. That's coming out later.
I think the Jedi that we have the most likelihood of seeing in this show, if any, is Quinlan Vos, just because we don't know where the fuck he went after the Clone Wars. We know that he survived, well, to our knowledge, he survived Order 66. I'm pretty sure the confirmation that he's alive post Order 66 comes from like a Darth Vader comic. Also Barriss, yes, true. But I think Quinlan Vos just fits in with the kind of maverick energy that the Bad Batch brings, and just like is one of those characters who is so like has such a small role in the Clone Wars that they can bring him here and like have him do something and then just fuck off. Additionally, and that's kind of one of the things that I found interesting with the Martez sisters, I was not expecting to see them this episode at all.
I thought it was going to be Boba when it came with the mask. I was like, Boba! And then she took her mask off.
I'm sorry, the idea of Boba Fett rolling up and being like, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? That is very funny to me, actually. Now that we've seen the Martez sisters and we've seen where their allegiances lie and kind of like Rafa's whole thing of like, where do you stand, bitch? Which Rafa, my beloved girl, I've got beef with her, but also I respect where she's coming from. I do think I know I've been pro Fennec, and Omega going off, but I do think that Rafa and Trace as an adopted family for Omega once something bad happens to the batch is very well possible.
I just had a thought that I sort of wanted to put into the world because we've been discussing how this show is going to end and like when that happens. And while I really do hate the idea of the plotline of like each of their chips reactivates one by one, because frankly, I think they would get stale really, really, really fast. If the Bad Batch gets captured and or is preparing to be Rogue One, they've sort of set up a large number of characters that Omega could be like, hello, 17 moms, my dads are in trouble. Like all
Like
of them throughout this part of the series. Yeah, well, pretty much, but like all of them throughout so far the series have been like, here's my contact information. If you ever want to hang out, just like let me know, with the exception of Fennec so far, but like she'd be down if you paid her.
The other thing, speaking of their chips malfunctioning, we had kind of touched on Wrecker head trauma. When Wrecker said good soldiers follow orders, I was deeply upset. But the other thing I thought was very interesting was, in case you guys didn't notice, there was a little Crosshair moment there where Wrecker heard Crosshair's voice being like, good soldiers follow orders. Hey, what was that about? Because part of me feels like, oh, it was Wrecker. What I think it is it's probably Wrecker feeling like good soldiers follow orders and then remembering Crosshair saying that. But it felt so like ethereal, and that's not usually Dave's MO with that kind of stuff, unless it has to do with the Force or some actual esoteric thing.
Not Force sensitive Wrecker.
Force sensitive Wrecker. Yes.
Maybe Wrecker's the Jedi, and he's like, oh, this is conflicting.
Big cognitive dissonance.
We already said force sensitive. We already said force sensitive Hunter. So
I would like to address that though, because I think it was. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was just him being like, oh hey, Crosshair said that the one time. But on that note, one thing that I think we have to know with Wrecker getting his chip activated, which one I'm still confused by, like, did he overpower it? Is he just dormant now? We don't know, or at least I don't know. But the thing is, he's never really been the orders guy. And so I think that in part, he will either have more resistance to it or it will not activate the same way. Like Crosshair's turned on and he was like, okay, fuck y'all, bye. Like the literal first chance he got to ditch them, he ditched them. And then he got supercharged in the brain. But Wrecker's not really that kind of person.
No,
that's actually gonna... So, sorry, Klaudia, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was saying that's very in line with the fact when people point out inconsistencies between how different clones reacted to Order 66.
Right.
The only other clone who like actively resisted it and was like, get the fuck out, was Rex. My dudes of the 501st know, like, they're not known for following orders in Anakin's little squad, so it makes sense that another clone who isn't really a following orders sort of type, it's very in character. If you're saying that for Wrecker, it also makes sense because that's what happened with Rex. Anyway,
that's the other thing I was going to say though, is Crosshair didn't actually ditch them the first chance he got. Like Crosshair was still with them for a while. And Hunter was like, Hunter knew something was off, and they all were kind of like, hey, yo, you're acting a little weird. And I know that it was really like the first chance he got when they said like, we're not following those orders. But even when that happened, Crosshair was still like, all right, fine. Like, you're in charge. I'm cool with that. So it very much makes me feel like, I was talking about this, I think last week. Is there a possibility that Wrecker's chip is currently active, but because there is not something directly in front of him that is going against the order, it is going to be kind of latent until something triggers it? And I don't know if that'll be more epic head trauma or if that will be more like an interaction with a Jedi or with an actual like well-known rebel or like well-known Imperial target. So I do think that there is a possibility that it's like, oh, hey, Crosshair's here, and there's going to be like Wrecker goes back to Kamino with Crosshair while the rest of them are like, we gotta go to Onderon.
Yeah, to be fair, also, I think an important thing, a distinction to make about Rex is his entire character arc is leading up to that choice of being like, actually, no, I'm going to do the right thing as opposed to what I've been ordered to do. Because like the deserter episode is the beginning of this, of being like, I am not going to fucking rat out on this man who is just fucking living his life, right?
There is something in front of Crosshair. Not Crosshair. Oh my god, I'm thinking about Crosshair. No, Wrecker that could activate his chip. It's the fact that the batch is technically like wanted by the Empire, I'm pretty sure, for abandoning Kamino.
That is also very valid, but I do think there's something there in saying, like, I don't want to call Wrecker stupid, because I do genuinely think every member of the Bad Batch is kind of smart. Like, I do think they all have brain cells.
No, they all actually, none of them have brain cells. Omega
no, I
is
do
the
think
brain cell. Omega is the brain cell.
No, I do think, I will contest that. I do think they all have brain cells, but I think something too about Wrecker is, in his head, he may not process it that way. Like, Jess, I completely agree with that. But I'm just kind of like, maybe he just isn't processing that, because it's not immediately, like, it's not like kill a Jedi, so he's not immediately thinking of it. But
the other thing that I was thinking about is that we saw with Jesse that you couldn't really like talk somebody out of Order 66 based off of technicality. Like, Rex tries to point out, like, hey, she literally isn't with the Order, so she's not technically a Jedi. And Manda's like, I don't give a shit. You said she was one, so she is. So to me, it's sort of like, I don't. And the other thing that I was thinking about too is, at this point, as far as they know, Order 66 has been carried out. It's no longer the thing. Like, they're following the Empire because of the chips, but I don't know if they're following that order specific.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Order 66 specifically go kill the Jedi, or is it specifically reset them to 0 and you have to follow exactly what I say?
Order 66, if I'm not mistaken, sorry, I'm Googling it as we speak. According to Wikipedia, was a top secret order identifying all the Jedi as traitors to the Galactic Republic and therefore subject to summary execution by the Grand Army of the Republic. The order was programmed during the Clone Wars. Oh my fucking god.
So this is why that thing you were saying of like, oh well, the batch is in front of them and Omega's wanted. I'm like, well, that doesn't matter. It has to be a Jedi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like it was like Jedi and Jedi, like anyone who's like harboring Jedi or
Force users.
Like Force users, or what is it called? God, I'm so sorry. I'm forgetting every word I know how to say in the English language.
Jedi
sympathizers. Thank you, Jess, for being my brain cell.
Because I was about to say, literally, like, they turn on Rex because he actively does defend a Jedi. But the other thing that I don't understand fully is, like, is it an on-site thing? Like, if you put all the clones in a big black box and you were like, there are no Jedi here, they just like be fine? Because I don't know. I will do physically anything to allow Wrecker to be okay, because he is my man and I would defend and die for him. But I do think it's gonna. Here's my other thing. I totally forgot what I was gonna say, but like, here's my other thing. Why have none of them been like, hey, this seems a little suspicious and kind of a problem? Like, none of them have an issue with it. Also, tech finish your device. I'm gonna make your pronouns was were.
I would say I do think they would be, because you saw the way that Jesse was interacting with Rex, and it was like he was saying like, let's kill Ahsoka. But he was also like talking to Rex like Jesse talks to Rex, aside from the fact that he wanted to kill Ahsoka. And you also see the clones on Kamino talking to the Bad Batch like they're jerks to them, but it's like they just seem like regular clones.
But see, that's where I would actually argue that maybe there is some level of reset, and maybe it's like your proximity to Jedi as like your commander or general, because on Kamino we also see all of the clones are now just always wearing their helmets and like have lost that part of their identity wherein they are like existing as a person.
And they also don't seem to question that as a problem or an issue. I think that's the other, like any army can be like, individuality is canceled, but all of them seem not only totally fine with it, but they're also like more mean. The clones in this show that are not the Bad Batch are significantly meaner than the clones we knew in the Clone Wars.
This is a good question, I think, too. That is something I really wish was covered more in the Clone Wars. We really only see it with the Domino Squad arc, but like, what is it like to be a clone? What is it like to be a clone in general? what's it like to grow up as a clone? And Domino Squad is the closest thing we see to that. And even them, they are painted as sort of like they're a different kind of squad.
Bad Batch
So I
child
would've-
arc. I want to see a Bad Batch child arc.
But even then, like the Bad Batch are special children. So it would have been really nice to, that's my like everlasting complaint about.
They got bullied in school.
That's my everlasting complaint about the Clone Wars, is that I would have liked to see more actual clones. And I am thinking now, like Jesse is someone who is like, he knew Ahsoka and he worked with Anakin and that switched, and maybe immediately it was okay, but how does that affect him over time? Because if he had lived, like what is, and this is what I'm thinking, if we see Wolf in the Bad Batch, this is what we're going to confront, is Wolf being like, Plo Koon's my dad, and then being like, oh, I'm going to kill him. How does that affect him over time? Is there going to be a point where he's like, hey, why are we thinking that he's an enemy? Like, I know good soldiers follow orders. So the question is, does the chip, does Order 66 make them, if you're closer in proximity to a Jedi, do you forget more? So it's like, is Wolf going to be totally wiped? Would Cody be totally like wiped because he and Obi-Wan were so close? And then it's like, you hate him.
The issue there is, you know, we're seeing it through Crosshair, who never worked with a Jedi. But we are seeing Crosshair kind of struggle with that, being like, isn't this not right? And then being like, oh, so anyway, a war crime. And then, but I also keep thinking about what's her name? Dogma and Slick. Are they in prison? Like it has Order 66 activated on them? Were they, again, what was their proximity to a Jedi? And because they didn't agree with the Jedi and they don't care about them, does it affect them in the same way or not? I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Also, sorry, this is going back to what Noah said a while back, about like, why hasn't anyone said anything about like, why the fuck are the clones acting the way they are? For most people, and I think this is why the clone racism in the show, we're so like, what the fuck? But like, for the average person, you're not talking and interacting with a clone on a daily basis. Like Order 66, post Order 66 clones are how many people went their entire lives perceiving clones. In Rebels, Kanan has this conversation with Ezra when they meet Rex of being like, yeah, the clones like claimed they had a chip in their head and that's why they acted the way that they fucking did, but I don't goddamn believe them because I'm Kanan Jarrus and I'm deeply traumatized. And I do think that the Bad Batch is also an opportunity for them to be the ones to be like, hey guys, we're not in control here. Can someone do something?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm realizing now, Kanan was saying like the clones told us that there was a chip in their head. And unless Kanan had interacted with Wolf, Rex, and Gregor, how would the clones have told him that? So it must be
young Kanan appearance.
Okay. No. Do you guys remember the episode in I think it's season finale of season 1 of Rebels, where they go to transmit the message from the Imperial building? That's what the Bad Batch are going to do. And that's how they get Rogue One.
Okay, also followed by, we've been talking a lot about this idea of like, oh, maybe the Bad Batch isn't going to get Rogue One. No, the reason that Hunter and Omega have not fucking hugged yet is because the time that they are going to hug, Hunter is about to fucking die.
I hate it here so goddamn much.
You're right, that's a Dave Filoni joint. That's a Dave Filoni joint.
Oh my God. Anyway, that was a fun episode. No, I'm kidding.
I did want to bring up to add to this idea of like, well, like not even believing that the clones had chips, so like it wouldn't matter. Spoilers for Jedi Fallen Order, because this isn't, it happens pretty late in the game. But there's a whole section of the game you can explore that's a crashed ship, and you actually like through Cal's abilities are able to sense like 2 other Jedi experiencing Order 66. And there's this line of dialogue he has where he's like, I don't know why the clones did this, but I don't think it would matter if I found out like what the cause was, because like they killed my master, they killed all my friends, they murdered my entire culture. Like the thing about his character that I find so fascinating is I would argue that he and Kanan are like the hashtag most traumatized Jedi that we see, like working through their shit. But he seems to really be like, look, I don't really care why it happened. They murdered my friends. And I feel like that might be part of that cognitive dissonance of like, you can tell me you were forced to shoot my mom. You still shot my mom. Like, I don't know what you want from me here.
I agree. I think I do agree a lot with the idea that Cal and Kanan and Cal, if you will, I think they're incredibly similar because both of them were 12 years old when Order 66 happened. Both of their masters died telling them to get out. So I think that's an incredibly helpful insight into how they viewed the clones. There's also a scene in Jedi Fallen Order where you play like in the past and you play right up to Order 66 happening, and Cal is walking through a hallway as a little kid. He high-fives a clone trooper, and then like he walks into a room and he goes into the room and the clone troopers are shooting at him and his master. And it's like, he's like, hey, what just like happened?
The non-canon part of the canon comic now, which I was getting up earlier, where you were talking about like proximity to a clone, how does it affect the clones over time? Clearly, it's equally as strong for a significant amount of time, because those two clone troopers pursue Kanan for quite a while when he's a child. I don't know how much back that is canon anymore, but they pursue him for quite some time. And I remember reading it and being like, wow, that Order 66 has some staying power. Just because I want to add some hopefulness here. And we were talking about Ahsoka and Fulcrum and Bail Organa. For a moment, because that was a little bit of Hunter's like deserter moment or whatever, where it was like, this is the start of Hunter and the batch maybe like becoming a part of the rebellion. I was like, maybe they don't all get their chips activated or die or something like that. Like maybe this is much like Rebels. Maybe this is the story of them becoming an early rebel cell. Maybe later on they do die, but they die as rebels.
Maybe they go to maybe they're just chilling on Alderaan.
No,
they just fucking explode.
I was joking about them going to Alderaan because we've only been to Alderaan once in the Clone Wars, and it would literally wreck me if they went to Alderaan. Epic Omega meeting baby Leia moment. It would be very powerful if, like, yes, we have clones that become stormtroopers and then train them, but we also have clones that became the early foundations of the rebellion, and maybe they were some of the ones who died first because obviously they get old real fast. And it would be a little better than them getting Rogue One. They're also rebels, but like I would love for them to be like, oh, maybe they're one of the first rebel cells that Ahsoka is fulcrum with. I just think that would be neat.
I will say this is probably going to be hopefully my last thought about Wrecker tonight for now. But the other thing that I could see happening in theory, because it seems like his chip might be semi-activated, is we see you know when like a character on a show is like gets possessed by evil dad or whatever, and then they like go in and out of being like the absolute worst. Like they'll punch a child and everyone's like, why did you do that? And they're like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Like when Chopper got possessed by a Sith.
Yeah. I think it's possible that Wrecker would have moments of clarity and then have moments of asshole. I could see that happening.
I agree. There was one thing that I wanted to mention that was not Order 66, because there were a lot of very good parts in this episode and a lot of fun little moments. Like you have Echo training Omega with that bow. That was so powerful. The one that I thought that we have not talked about yet was when Trace is like, we need to do something. And Rafa's like, yeah, we need to do something. And Trace is like, is there an Echo in here? And Echo's like, yeah, my name's Echo. And that was incredibly funny. But I'm also thinking, imagine Rafa, if that person that she was talking to is Rex. Rafa calls him and is like, I found these group of clones and I know where to find them. And he's like, oh, what group of clones? She's like, I don't know, but one of them was named Echo. And he's like, oh, it's the Bad Batch. And that's how Rex finds out.
I would love that.
Because of that stupid joke that Echo makes, that's how Rex finds out. He's like, that's something Echo would do.
That was one of the best jokes in Star Wars, period.
Oh, I yell. I was like, that's comedy, bitch. I will say though, that was one little moment of like, especially when Echo was having his little moment with Omega earlier. I was like, oh, this is Echo being the big brother to Omega that Rex was to him.
The Echo and the special blonde people in his life. Let's go ahead. So do we want to say like, what's up? What's our final thoughts? I would say for this episode, there was a lot of lore and it made me think a lot, but I don't think that it was one of my favorite episodes. It was just like a lot to process, and I liked the lore, but it was a lot.
Yeah, I would say that I liked how it moved the plot along really strongly, but it made me very, very upset. So it's like a mid-range for me. Would I rewatch it? No, but it was fun.
Yeah, this would go around a 7 or an 8 for me. Like, quality, good. Rewatching it is going to require some therapy.
I mean, I liked it. We got a lot of good lore and things happening with Wrecker, and by good I mean bad. But Rafa really pissed me off, so I wouldn't rewatch it.
Mel and I were having that conversation in the very much like, I like Rafa because I do like a woman who's allowed to be mean and kind of rude. And I do feel like Rafa is kind of mean. And I do like that. I like that as a character. But there was a point where she was just like being mean to Hunter. She's like, oh, you want to, like, oh, I saved you. And he's like, literally, no, you didn't. But okay. That was powerful.
It was giving me the epic Maul and Ahsoka WLW MLM animosity moment. Like, it was the same vibe.
Yeah, I think to put a bookend on the end of this conversation about this episode, that like I have a very complicated relationship with Rafa, with the Martez sisters, because on one hand I really do enjoy them very much so, but I know that they get a lot of like hate, and a lot of it is just like a combination of racism and misogyny. But like honestly, we need more complicated women in Star Wars. And Rafa Martez, you may be on my shit list, but I'd still do respect you.
I just want to say, yeah, if anyone were to insult Rafa, I'd come to her defense. Even if I don't like her, I'd be like, hey,
absolutely,
shut the fuck up.
Correct.
Super heckin' valid.
Happy Pride to the Trace and Ahsoka shippers as well. Happy Pride to you all, because we're winning.
Also, happy Pride to Rafa Martez.
Oh yeah. Also, Rafa x Bo-Katan when?
Oh, I do want to do Cody Watch.
Cody Watch is I know where he is. He's at Pride. So let him be happy over there for now. If he shows up in the Bad Batch later, that's cool. But right now he's enjoying Pride with his boyfriend, Obi-Wan. That's Cody Watch update. But the correction from last week's episode is we thought Bolo, voiced by Liam O'Brien, was the Zygerian slaver, but no. At the end of this week's episode, I saw Liam O'Brien was listed in the cast again as Bolo and the tactical droid, and that made me feel like a visceral reaction, because I was like, what the fuck? Who the hell is Bolo? I thought we figured out who Bolo was, but no. Then I did some deep diving and found his IMDb, and the listing for it was Bolo is the Etherian in Sid's little bar at the beginning of the episode, who they're placing bets on if Omega can shoot her bow or not, and he's very supportive. He's like, yeah, I think she can shoot that bow. So I respect Bolo. I stand Bolo now.
Maybe this podcast is pro Critical Role. I was also gonna say the Zygerian's name is Rainy or Ranny. So just a fun little correction corner.
Also followed by, I do like the idea of this becoming, instead of Cody Watch, we get Bolo Watch, because at least Bolo has showed up in an episode.
Bolo showed up in more episodes than
Never
Cody.
Mind. I hate Bolo if he's gonna replace Cody.
Hey y'all, it's Melon Post cutting in before we enter the more cursed part of the podcast, name that ship and the like. First off, I don't know if we ever formally said it, but happy Pride. We make a lot of jokes on this podcast, but I want to sincerely tell you that we are so happy that you're here. Pride means a lot of things to a lot of different people, and to us here at RuPalp's Podrace, Pride is about celebrating our community in all facets of the past, present, and future. LGBTQ people are 3 times more likely to be jailed, and for many, bail is not an option. This week, we'd like to show our support and encourage yours to the LGBTQ Freedom Fund. The LGBTQ Freedom Fund pays bail to secure the safety and liberty of folks in U.S. jails and immigration facilities. We talk a lot about how the first Pride was a riot started by Black and brown trans sex workers in response to unnecessary and more often than not violent policing, which isn't to say that the act of policing isn't inherently violent, but I digress. But we have to remember that this is not something that lives in the past, but something that lives here in the present and will continue to unless we do something about it. This is all to say I urge you to join me in supporting the LGBTQ Freedom Fund this month. Not only does the fund secure bail for community members, they also do work as advocates and educators to mobilize the public and policymakers to address the disproportionate impact of incarceration in the queer community. Please consider, if you can, a donation to the LGBTQ Freedom Fund. The link to their site is in the show notes. Happy Pride, and may the force be with you.
So on last week's Name That Ship, we read a crack fic. We knew it was a joke the whole time. It had been sent to me on and on Tumblr. I found out later that it was one of our lovely listeners who sent it on and on. And it was also a TikTok mutual of mine. I just want to give a shout out to the author of that fic because chapter 3 of Captive Directions has updated and Captive Directions, a freak story, has updated and with a special dedication to special thanks to Klaudia, Mel, Ollie, Jess, and Noah, the true Captive Directions. I also last week this is obviously a parody of the Sold to One Direction fanfic trope joke situation, which it is also a reference to a specific actual real panel from a Star Wars comic that is Yoda in chains on the ground and someone saying, "Welcome to your new home, freak."
Another important thing to note about this panel is that Yoda's fat cake ass is in the middle of the panel. It is like the first thing you see.
Hey, bestie, I never want to hear that phrase ever again.
I wish I didn't have to say it, but it's true. It's exactly what's in the image.
I do need to note that also his nasty little toes are also in frame. I can't get through saying that.
We are going to put this in the image that we post our bingo sheet in on our Instagram. It will be in the same gallery, so you can swipe over and you'll see the picture of which we are referring to.
So it's time for Name That Ship, the segment of our podcast where one of our esteemed hosts will bring a fic to the table and they're going to read us the tags and we try to guess the ship, not the actual fic. And I believe that Jess has a fic to present to us first tonight.
And as per usual, please do not go and bother any of the people who write these. This is all in good fun. Please be kind.
And we're not trying to make fun of these authors who write them, because fanfic writers are the backbone of society. I truly believe that. Yeah. Anyway, here's the fic I have. I did read these tags to Mel and Ollie the other night, but I did not tell them the ship because I said they'd have to figure out the ship with you two, Klaudia and Noah, when we got to recording. So here we go.
This has haunted me.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
It's rated explicit. It is
That's
called
a bad start,
Look
love.
Only at Me.
What is it called?
Look Only at Me.
Oh no.
Let's hear the tags.
Okay. So the tags are I'll start with the relationships without saying it's character A / character B, and then Orson Krennic / character A, past original female character / character A, minor Thrawn / character A, and Thrawn / Maximilian Veers. Okay, the character A, Orson Krennic, character B, Thrawn, Sheev Palpatine / Darth Sidious, Conan Antonio Motti, I don't know how to pronounce that last name, Moti, Maximilian Veers. Then additional tags are jealousy, possessive behavior, age difference, power play, how do I tag, Slow burn. Old men being emotional dicks. Krennic the human disaster. Sexual fantasy. Kind of foot fetish, maybe? Who knows? First love.
Huh?
Kissing. Non-consensual kissing.
What?
Choking. The abuse of force powers. Past relationships. Sex. Help me tag. Please. Just suggest what should be tagged. Implied / reference non-con actions, just touching really. Creepy Palpatine. Also Thrawn totally is plotting like always. Poor Maudie worries too much. Also artificial children, okay, no Mpreg, so chill.
Okay,
That's it.
okay. So I have a question immediately. Are any of the characters Darth Vader?
Yes.
Oh.
Is it
Darth
character A?
Is it
Vader
Tarkin?
Character B.
Is character A
It is
Tarkin?
Tarkin / Anakin, yeah.
Not Tarkin, Ken.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wait, and they have artificial kids? But it's not
Yeah,
Mpreg.
I guess.
What does
It's not
that
Mpreg.
mean?
No,
I don't know, I didn't read it.
Wait. Can you read us the fic summary, please?
Are they clones? Oh, I want to know now.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, I can read the summary if I can.
I hate that we got this in one try. I hate it.
You people have seriously rotted my brain because my literal first thought was like, oh, it's gotta be Tarkin, obviously. Because Krennic wears the divorce poncho in fucking
Happy
Rogue One.
Pride.
Oh yeah, I was like
Happy
Krennic. I was like,
Pride.
ooh. I
Okay,
was like,
so
is somebody force sensitive, whatever? And then I was like, it's gotta be Tarkin, man.
the summary is, "Oh, Anakin, you are still a terrible liar," spoke Tarkin weakly. Orson felt his mouth go slack. This was not going the way he expected it to. This does have 7 chapters and 50,039 words.
50? I'm so sorry. Is it completed?
But it was last. No,
How many
it's
chapters
not,
were
and it last
finished?
updated in 2018.
So the one that I have now, it is from Wattpad, which I am less familiar with than
Not
AO3.
Wattpad.
So please bear with me. I found it because someone did make a TikTok about it and was like, huh? Okay. I do believe it is serious. I'm not sure. I may need help navigating Wattpad. Bear with me. I guess I should start with the tags.
Wattpad's tagging system isn't quite what AO3's is. Do you want me to step in as a producer and look at this fic to see if I can help you?
I'm sorry that Mel doesn't get to have the shock of
It's
this.
for the better. It's for the better. I'm sorry. I just saw it. Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god.
Oh,
this part out.
I'm literally so
Oh
scared
my
because Mel and I
fucking
have
God.
seen some. We've been through some things. We've seen some
Yeah,
stuff.
but you're not on Wattpad.
To be fair, actually, the podcast does have a Wattpad account that I created for the specific purpose of finding fanfic. Let me see. if
Wattpad
this is-
account.
Yeah, obviously. Okay, I found the tags.
It's-
I can send you.
It's the ones under the Creative Commons attribution part, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
those
okay,
are
okay.
all the tags.
All right.
This fanfiction being licensed under a Creative Commons attribution license.
All right. So this is on Wattpad. It is ongoing. I don't believe that these have ratings on Wattpad. Correct me if I'm wrong. The tags are Disney, character A, enemies to lovers, fanfic, fanfiction, franchise of character A, hot, character B, love, OTP, romance, ship, Star Wars. The name of the fic is broken, but there's parentheses around the okay in the middle of broken.
Oh wow.
It's a
Oh
lot.
wow.
It has original
It's a lot to
Photoshop
unpack.
art.
Is it?
I don't think it's serious. Now that I've read the summary, I don't think it's serious.
Yeah.
That being said, it might
Okay.
be my new OTP.
Is this a Star Wars character and a character who's not from Star Wars?
Yes.
Yes, this is
And
a crossover fic, but it is Disney.
it Chopper? Is it Chopper X Mickey Mouse?
no, it is a sequel's character.
No, don't give them that. Don't they have to ask questions?
Okay, is it Rey?
No.
Is it Ben Solo?
Yes.
Kylo
Is
Ren?
it Ben Solo
Yes.
X Mickey Mouse?
No.
What's
Oh,
the other
God.
franchise? Was it just Disney?
Okay, also, we
It's
have to...
another Disney property.
Is it Marvel?
No, it's not Marvel.
Is it a princess?
Yes.
Well,
Is it
actually,
Rapunzel?
No.
Oh. Wait. Okay, so it is a princess though,
Is it
right?
Elsa?
Yes. Yes.
No. All right. Elsa.
If you guys would
Excuse
like
me?
to, if you guys would like to click on,
I'm
the link
going
that
to the
I
link
sent,
right now.
Go look at the
Picture
art.
now.
Make sure you
guys.
Besties.
I'm gonna describe what I
don't
can,
know.
like the best I can, what this photoshopped art looks like. It's basically, the first frame is an image of Adam Driver's Kylo Ren and an image of Elsa from, I believe, Frozen 2. Photoshopped like right up their nuzzling noses. Then half of that, the bottom half of the image, is Kylo Ren in the shirtless scene from The Last Jedi and Elsa crying.
hey besties, I did go to chapter, what is this, fucking chapter 4 of it, and there's a video that is Wattpad has this funny feature where like you can like embed videos and pictures into your fan fiction, right? And in this fan fiction, they've decided to embed a video called Elsa's Feet, the musical.
Hey, bestie, I can't do this today.
You can't do this today. Bold
You
words
brought
from the
this
person who
upon us.
brought this.
You made
Yeah.
us look at this.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's supposed to be Pride Month, and this feels like a saw trap.
So
And,
sorry. I don't know. I brought Wattpad into this.
Guys, my fucking...
You're the fucking jigsaw of this goddamn podcast.
Guys, thank you all for sticking with us through that. I did want to say it's been 1 month since we published our first episode, and the support that we have received has absolutely blown us away. This is something we decided to start just for fun, and the amount of support we have gotten is crazy. I did want to go ahead and read a couple people who've left us reviews on Apple Podcasts, which we always appreciate. It helps us out a lot. So thank you to Not So Bad Batch, Hearsay for Fun and Profit, Sleepy One, Fall of Cheeto Man, Yu-Gi-Oh Girl, Mac and Cheeseable, and Docbreaker for your reviews. We read all of them and we truly appreciate your kind words. It means the world to us that we get to do something like this and that we can give people something to listen to that they enjoy. And especially right now during Pride Month, it's nice to have, it's nice to see that we're making a difference, at least for some people. But yeah, if you would like to hear your name in the podcast, please leave a review. We will be reading them off going forward. So thank you so much for joining us for RuPalp's Podrace. Episodes drop on Sundays. For updates, more cursed shit, follow us on social media. We're at RuPalp's Podrace on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And as I said earlier, if you've got time, please leave us a review on Apple Podcast. It truly helps us a lot. We will see you next week for another episode. May the Force be with you, and don't criff it up.
Waka waka.
Waka waka.
Waka
Waka
waka.
fucking waka.